Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we start to play. Steelers by the lake. Wouldn't know what to say. James Strong, Cody Tanner, hosts on the mic. About to dive in deep, keep it live, that's right.
Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner, all the way from West Virginia. Cody, how are you this wonderful, warm Saturday evening?
Warm is right, James. I have been all over this state of West Virginia today, and oh my Lanta, it is hot out there. Toasty. It feels toasty, man. My car doesn't have AC. Driving with the windows down messes up my pretty hair. And that's beside the point. James, how are you doing today? You got some sun today too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, man, got a chance to hang out at Waldemere. Ooh. If you're not from the Erie area, that's our amusement park here locally.
Yeah.
And the girlfriend and some family, yeah.
Fifth or third largest wooden roller coaster in the world? Fifth? Third?
Probably none of the above.
No, it is. I'll look it up while we're looking.
Yeah.
But no,
recently built one was in 2012, so I don't know that it's
it's the fact
anything.
that it's the wooden roller coaster. So opening in 1922, Ravine Flyer was Waldemere's. No, hang on, I'll look it up later. Anyways, I don't want to get into it right now. And it's up there for wooden roller coasters specifically. It's top 5, I think, in the world wooden roller coasters. Because most of the big ones nowadays are metal or steel, whatever. Mm-hmm. But no, today we are going to talk about, it's going to be week 1 of a 3-week series where we're going to talk about the opposing teams in the AFC North and go over their rosters and kind of break down where they're at as a team, what players we are nervous about playing, what players we think we can take advantage of with our current healthy roster and things like that. But before we get to the Ravens roster today, the entire AFC North, James, is going to be featured in an HBO segment of Hard Knocks this year. So that is, get the crack, get the celebratory.
Get your popcorn ready, buddy.
Oh, I was ready. Yeah.
Crack a cold one.
And they're doing the regular season specifically. I think they're doing like 6 different teams this year. They're doing somebody for like training camp and then somebody for OTA. I don't know. It was weird how they had it set up this year, that they're not following one specific team.
Yeah, I think they did a similar thing last year with it. So the AFC North is not going to be the entire regular season. This is just going to be like the last 6 weeks of the regular season. That's it.
Yep.
So we're not going to be dealing with this all year long.
Which is why the advertisement.
Only when we're playing just our division rival and the 2 toughest other teams that we have to play.
That's why they gave us that schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They knew this long beforehand, and really are honestly, I think they're trying to put Mike Tomlin in a bad spot.
Oh, 100%.
I think that's exactly what it is. They're trying to put some pressure on him and see if they can make him crack. But the way if you have any black friends, they'll tell you right away, black don't crack, buddy.
Yeah. The way the Steelers have operated for the last 60 years goes against everything that NFL teams and things they're trying to do nowadays. They want to have somebody for short-term success and move on to the next person and get younger and get more like everything else. Outside of like Andy Reid and a couple other quarterbacks, I feel like certain teams and certain maybe owners in the NFL are upset seeing Pittsburgh have as much consistent success with one head coach because it brings drama to their fan base. Like, hey, why can't we find someone and keep him in there for long enough like the Steelers have, or like the Saints did with Sean Payton, or the Eagles and the Chiefs have done with Andy Reid and all these other, like it's actually making other teams look bad when they go through 5 head coaches in 4 years. Like, it's crazy. So it doesn't surprise me that they're trying to make Mike Tomlin look bad. I really feel like the NFL is gunning for him to have his first losing season this year.
They want it so bad.
Isn't he tied for first right now?
With what?
Is he tied for with is it Landry or Belichick?
I don't know what you're trying to say
most winning seasons in a row.
Most in a row?
Yeah.
I don't know. Most seasons in a row without having a losing season. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, winning season. Okay. About 500.
Okay. Because I don't know. Does he have any that are 500?
No,
'Cause I
Tomlin
think-
doesn't have
I
any.
think- okay.
No, that's what's, or maybe he has one that is 500. Maybe he has an 8-8.
That's what I'm thinking, is that the record that he's got going on right now is not necessarily winning seasons.
It's
It's
above
not
500.
having any that are losing. Yeah.
So, and it is the I'll look this up while we continue talking. But it does bring a lot of questions to what they're trying to do and why they're doing Hard Knocks. AFC North is not a Hard Knocks. Let me clarify. It's a Hard Knocks.
It's absolutely a Hard Knocks division.
But
it's one of the few divisions left in the league that is run first.
But Harbaugh and Tomlin are very much guys that don't want the media in their locker room. Wow,
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
we went from being one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. I mean, we had 4 teams last year in playoff contention, right? And they're run first teams, all of them, with probably the Bengals being the one exception that they're probably a little better passing team than running team, but they're no slouch at running the ball by any means. And then what happened this offseason? Pittsburgh upgraded their quarterbacks to a couple guys that are known for being able to be scramblers, and the freaking Ravens got the biggest, strongest running back in the league.
Yep.
So,
and just to clarify, go back on this. Tom Landry with the Dallas Cowboys from 1965 to 1985, 21 years of the longest streak of above 500 seasons, and Mike Tomlin is at 17 now.
and under contract for 4 more years.
Yep. They want it. They don't. I feel like they don't even want Tomlin's name to be next to Landry's.
No.
So they're
no,
doing
I don't think they do either. And I'm all here for Tomlin taking it to 22, 23 and beyond and crapping all over it.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah. No, we do. So it is going to be interesting. And that makes more sense now that you said that it's going to be in the later 6 weeks of the season because of the advertisement being the snow. So that does make a lot of sense because that's the time where we might see some snow on the field. So
Absolutely. And I think if you get the opportunity to see this, if you have access to HBO, I think you might really actually get a real cool insight to some of that behind the scenes stuff. I mean, I'm going to try to get my hands on some of these episodes. I don't have HBO, but I'm sure I have a friend that can hook me up with it for a couple of weeks just to get access to watching it. Because, before this, I had absolutely no interest in Hard Knocks. But if you're telling me I can see behind the scenes a little bit of what's going on in the coaching staff or behind the scenes with some of the players and stuff like that, yeah, I'm in, man. I want to see that.
Yeah. And I also feel like they're taking a different stance on this Hard Knocks series due to the fact of last year they're like, oh, we're going to follow Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Well, that lasted a solid, not even a quarter of a game because then he went down with the Achilles injury. So they're being strategic. They're covering their butts. They're making sure they can push content out. And what better content to push out than AFC division football in the later 6 games of the season? I mean, nothing gets tougher than that. Sorry. In the NFL, nope, nothing.
Nothing. It's like being a back of the roster wide receiver and hoping to make the team this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might as well just ask to get shipped out.
Yep.
And move along. And it seems like maybe that's what the case is with Denzel Mims here, Cody.
Yeah, Steelers released him.
Yeah, Denzel released by the Steelers and like the next day signed by another team. So obviously, with him being a former 2nd round pick, people are always going to want to take a chance at that. Yep. But he has just done nothing so far in the league. He would have been a guy that you would have hoped to make the practice squad and been a capable backup to dial up in case you needed an additional body. But again, this is an offense that we're going into that is more likely to have 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, and only 1 wide receiver. Yep. So being the 7th or 8th or 9th best wide receiver on a team that only uses 1 and has George Pickens and a recent rookie draft pick and Rome Wilson there. And yeah, so it's like, yeah, I kind of get it, man. I get it. So they released him, and that was kind of surprising. Like a day or 2 later, they picked up wide receiver Jacob Copeland, who was on the practice squad for Pittsburgh last year. Yep. So a familiar face getting a chance to come back and prove his capabilities. My guess is that they looked at that and said, hey, we figured Denzel Mims' best shot was going to be as a practice squad guy. Let's get a guy in here that we know is at least capable of giving us good looks for the offense for the upcoming weeks.
Yep.
We know this guy can do that. I think it's a 1-for-1 trade there.
Yeah. Yeah, easily. And they probably had that lined up before they went ahead and released Denzel Mims. They typically have plans ahead of releasing or anybody like that. And which makes me question, Pittsburgh also released safety Trenton Thompson. Now, James, me and you talked a little bit in our brief discussion before the show. Trenton Thompson was a guy that gave us good looks last year. He actually had some playing time in the regular season and came in. I think he got an interception in one of his games. He was flying to the ball, making some good hits, not playing perfect football by any means. But when you see that out of the safety position, when we've been struggling with depth at the safety position for however many years since we had Polamalu and Clark back there, we have Minka. We've been struggling to find that number 2 guy. Terrell Edmonds was kind of there for a little bit. We've talked about that. We're not going to get into it. But I'm really curious what the move was here, because there's still a safety on the market, James. There's still a free agent on the market. That's very interesting. You never know.
Yeah, you never know, but I'd be very surprised at this point. I think they're pretty content with Deshaun Elliott and KZ opposite Minka Fitzpatrick. And I think that, something that we discussed previous to recording the show, this might be good signs for Ryan Watts, the rookie corner / safety that they're saying is practicing primarily at safety now. So you would think that this is a good sign for him, that maybe he's looking good enough that they say, we're probably going to go this direction versus the Trenton Thompson direction. And then Miles Killebrew is always listed as a safety. And when he is forced to play, plays as a safety. He's an all-pro special teamer. He's going to be on the team.
Yep.
So you want 4 guys that are safeties, and then Miles Killebrew is your 5th.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't think anybody's challenging him now. I think Ryan Watts with Tristan Thompson being cut, Ryan Watts is almost use a pen for writing his name in on the 53-man roster, man.
Yeah, pretty much. With that being said, that kind of goes over and finishes the Steelers news that we had to discuss for today. We are going to talk Ravens roster, James. So let's obviously start offensive side of the ball. 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Not scared of him. It's just kind of where I'm at. Now, he's going to be a different threat this year.
Versus Pittsburgh is poor.
Yeah, he's going to be a different threat this year with Derrick Henry in the backfield. That's a gimme. That is facts. But I'm still not drastically afraid of Lamar Jackson as an individual player, because I really feel like Pittsburgh has had his number in consistently. Pittsburgh has had his number from a defensive standpoint, keeping him in the pocket. Even when he tries to scramble, he doesn't get far. We do a really good job against mobile quarterbacks in general, but Lamar Jackson has had little to no success against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, in fact, he hasn't beat Pittsburgh maybe ever as a starter, is what I understand. So, yeah, it's pretty bad. We swept Baltimore the last 2 years, so I know it's been at the very least 3 or 4 years since he's had a win against Pittsburgh, which is not very impressive for a NFL MVP, that's for sure. So I'm with you on him. He's an absolutely electric and dangerous athlete. He's got a very strong arm. It's a very erratic arm. We know all these things. And when Pittsburgh plays against them, they've got a great way of rushing and staying in their lanes. And he just seems to always scramble into it and get sacked over and over. So,
yep. Yeah, we enjoy that a lot. Lamar Jackson against the Steelers has a QB rating of 66.8. 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not
Tell
very
me it shows
good.
how many times he's been sacked.
It does not.
Does it have his win-loss? His win-loss
not this specific website does, but let me look up another one.
Yeah, they don't want to show that.
No,
because that destroys the narrative of how good he is.
It's okay. So it says this was back in 2023, a 1-3 record. So now it's probably 1-5.
Yeah, I don't know if he played both games last year.
That's fair.
But we swept him again. So yeah, at best
16.
case he's 1-4.
16.
16 times sacked. We got him like 9 times in one game. That sounds low.
It says a 2-3 result. 2-3 record with 16 sacks. That's what it says. It could be wrong. That's from a Reddit.
Sounds very low, unfortunately, because
Okay, we'll keep
I'm
looking.
pretty confident we had one game we sacked him 9 times. I can't imagine only 7 in the remaining 4.
Steelers Depot posted April 27th, 2023, 16 sacks.
Okay, maybe it's right then.
So it's probably a bunch of scrambles that he got out to the line of scrimmage. Quite frankly, that's probably what it is. So
beyond Lamar, Derrick Henry, getting older but still a very powerful back, very dynamic. It's going to be his first year in this offense.
Yep.
They run a lot of option, and I don't know how well that's going to mesh for him because he's more of just a power guy that obviously has the speed to break it, but I just don't know that it's going to be as great of a fit as people think, especially with the turnover on the offensive line. There's a lot of new starters on this offensive line, and I'd kind of rather go there before we start talking wide receivers and tight ends and fullback.
That's fine.
I mean, we can talk their fullback. Patrick Riccardi's been the same guy for years there.
Dominant.
310-pound fullback, big, strong dude, right? Playing a little bit more offensive line in more recent years.
Yep.
And it's not a great home for him. He's best as a fullback and getting older and slower every year. Their left tackle, Ronnie Stanley, has been injured year after year after year and missed a lot of time. Left guard, Andrew Voorhees, this will be his first NFL action this upcoming season. Yep. He was drafted not in the most recent draft class, but the year previous. If you remember, he's the guy that tore his ACL at the NFL Combine and then went ahead and benched anyway and put up like 43 reps on the bench with a torn ACL, not using his legs at all.
Yep.
It was absolutely incredible. So a very powerful guy, but he's just coming back after missing an entire season. So it'll be his first time playing in 2 years. There's a chance he's going to end up being their best offensive lineman. Tyler Linderbaum, a very highly thought of center.
Yep.
Very, very short arms. The kind of guy that Cam Hayward loves to go against because he can push him around pretty easily. Ben Cleveland, their right guard, is not a dominator by any stretch of the imagination. And the right tackle, Roger Rosengarten, is one of the reasons that Pittsburgh prioritized offensive tackle in the first round because they didn't want to get stuck with a guy like Roger Rosengarten as a starter.
Yep.
Because if they would have waited until the second round, that's the kind of name that they would have been going with. And trust me, you're way better off going with Troy Fontenot in the first round than Roger Rosengarten, who I believe they selected possibly in the second round.
Yeah, he was their second round pick, 62nd overall.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
Yes.
It's
so the tackles. The tackles are the issue for them, right?
And that's great when you process our defensive line. Mm-hmm. That is fantastic.
Yeah. So you're telling me that a second round guy who's kind of questionable as to how good of a pass blocker is going to be the one going one-on-one with TJ Watt? Dude, Patrick Ricard is going to be lined up over there every play.
Yep.
They're not going to be able to use him to go out for any routes or anything. He's going to be blocking.
Yep. And that's going to work very well for us. Now, speaking of the players that are going to be going out for routes, the wide receiver and tight end group here is quite good.
I would say one of the worst in the NFL.
Let me clarify. I say quite good just from 2 players.
Okay.
And those 2 players are honestly both tight ends, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews.
Okay, yeah. If we're gonna go with tight ends, then yes.
But I'm saying,
but wide receivers are awful.
But when you look at the receiving core as a whole, I truly believe that this is one of the better quote unquote receiving cores due to the threat that Mark Andrews has had in years past over the middle of the field. That you're gonna get so many more one-on-ones with Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar than most teams would with their star receivers.
I see that, but those guys still don't win their one-on-ones.
That's true. Zay Flowers dropped 3 balls against us. So, and one was trying to backpedal for it. Didn't work out very well. I think
Mark Andrews is one of the best tight ends in the league. You can't argue that,
top
right?
5, easy.
And Isaiah Likely might be the best number 2 tight end anybody's got in the league. That's a great combo, but this wide receiver core is trash.
Yeah. But the one thing that I will say about Zay Flowers is he is coming into his second year, first round pick. Mm-hmm. He's either going to have a sophomore slump or he's going to have a much better year. And last year he did have 5 touchdowns on 77 receptions for just over 850 yards. That's a great rookie year for a receiver.
Yeah.
I expect him to have a better second year. Lamar Jackson dealt with injuries last year. We talked about that. But I do think that Zay Flowers is going to have a better second year. I'm not saying he's going to be massively explosive and go off the charts, but just from processing the quarterback play last year. Now, don't get me wrong. We've talked about Lamar. He's a scrambler more than anything. He does throw from the pocket, mostly to do with Mark Andrews and the other tight ends. But if he's healthy, it's more than likely going to have better stats for Zay Flowers.
Yeah, but I don't know how many times Zay had to go against number 1 last year.
Who was starting? Was it?
They had that journeyman that's been on like 4 different teams, started with the Giants.
Odell.
Yeah, Odell.
Yep, you're right.
They had Odell, so I think Odell was probably drawing number 1 corners, which is going to make it a lot tougher for Zay going against number 1 corners now.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that matchup goes for them. But I would say, I think personally, they have a massive upgrade at running back, but a massive downgrade at offensive line, and probably a slight downgrade at wide receiver as well.
Yeah.
So I would count myself less worried about this Ravens offense than I was last year, and I wasn't all that worried about it last year, and the Steelers swept the Ravens last year.
True. Very true.
So
let's talk about this defense. They run a base 3-4 defense. Looking at that defensive front, specifically the left defensive end, right defensive end, and nose tackle, you have Justin Matabuke on the left side, Broderick Washington on the right, and Michael Pierce in the middle. James,
stout. Stout.
Very stout. Very stout.
That's a stout group, bro.
I remember talking about Matabuke when he came out of the draft, and you and I were talking about him fairly often. Michael Pierce is the veteran on that. Oh, he's huge. Is the veteran on that defensive front. And then Broderick Washington, my brain doesn't even process who that was. Was he starting for them last year?
I don't recall if he was or not, but I feel like that's just another big stout dude on that D line.
He is. I mean, 6'2", 315. Yeah.
Former 5th round pick in 2020 from the Ravens. So probably of the group, the less talented guy. But that's, I mean, Matabuke was an all-star, I think, last year. I think he went all-pro. And Pierce, one of the better nose tackles in the league. So if you're going to attack anybody on that 3-4 front, it's Broderick Washington, and he's no small fry. So
Nope. No, he definitely is not.
Go to this linebacker core now, Cody. We've got some pretty serious athleticism going on here.
Oh, yeah.
Odafe Owe, the former Penn State Nittany Lion, went by Jason Owe there, and now going by Odafe as a pro. Trenton Simpson, not this most recent draft class, but the one before. He was the ultra athletic guy that the instincts weren't the greatest in the world. So he's now going to be starting. So he's a new starting middle linebacker for them. Roquan Smith, first team All-Pro.
Yep.
So one of the best middle linebackers in all of football. And then Kyle Van Noy, the strong side linebacker for them, who is probably the least talented of that group if it's not Trenton Simpson. So you got extreme athleticism, and then you got Kyle Van Noy, who's like the trusty vet that's been around and knows where he's supposed to be.
He was drafted in 2014.
Didn't he play for the Patriots for a while?
I
feel like he was
Kyle
a Patriot.
Van Noy, he was drafted by Detroit, played there for 3 years, went to New England for 4 years, and then went to Miami, New England, the Chargers, and then Baltimore on a 1-year stint so far. This is his first time playing with the team in back-to-back years since 2019.
Whew.
So, with that being said, there's a chance of higher play than what he had last year, just from being in a system longer than a year. So we'll see what happens with him. But again, he is the veteran. He is the aging. Yeah, he is the aging guy on that defensive front. And again, Trenton Simpson, the guy we talked about last year's draft a lot, is a downgrade from them when you process where they were last year, because we took Patrick Queen in free agency. So their second starting middle linebacker is now a Pittsburgh Steeler, as he should be. So that's what's up. Looking at the secondary here, you have left and right side corners, Marlon Humphrey and Brandon Stevens. Nate Wiggins and Arthur Mollett are the backups to those guys. Nate Wiggins being important because he was the first round rookie drafted this year. And then Arthur Mollett, a former Pittsburgh Steeler, playing for the Slot. Well, yeah, he'll play slot, but he's listed as the backup. Yeah, I don't know how they do that.
Yeah, he'll be the nickel corner for them in the nickel formations, unless somebody else is able to succeed him in that. And then those safeties, Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, both guys that have good ball skills, neither one of them known for speed, which is a good thing for Pittsburgh because I look at this secondary and it's devoid of speed. And that's a good thing because when you look at Pittsburgh's wide receiver core, man, you got a lot of 4-3 and 4-4 guys on this wide receiver core right now.
All of a sudden, it happened out of nowhere too.
Oh, one off season.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. One. Yeah. Everybody. There's a lot of 4-3 guys on this roster now. So you're going to see a lot of double team action going over to George Pickens and then just send the other guy deep. And I think they're just going to keep on subbing them out, and send them deep every play. And when they get those one-on-ones with corners, Russ is going to take his shots, and Russ is one of the most accurate deep ball throwers in the NFL. This Baltimore secondary looks like a secondary that you might be able to take advantage of that way.
Yeah, I'm excited because this is the first time that I think Pittsburgh has a chance to do something with the passing game. Now, don't get me wrong. I was a little bit on that Kenny Pickett hype train. I still think that Kenny could have played better than what we saw out of him. We've talked about that. He never had a chance under a good offensive coordinator. He was never given a true opportunity after the Matt Canada experiment did not work. He was never in a system that was beneficial to him. I will stand firm by that. But just the confidence alone that Russell Wilson has, we should see drastically better play from the quarterback position this year. I don't remember the last time Pittsburgh put up 350 yards passing or even 300 yards passing in a game. There's a chance we get that early and often this year. With the speed that we have, with the utilizing the tight ends. James, you talked about the Ravens tight ends and how Isaiah Likely might be the best number 2. Pittsburgh could prove this year that Darnell Washington is the best number 2, hands down, if he's utilized correctly. And so I'm excited. We've already heard things in the preseason about how Darnell Washington could explode in this Arthur Smith offense. I almost said Arthur Moats. I was talking about the old defensive defensive linebacker. But yeah, Arthur Smith offense, and I'm excited to see that. I'm very excited. James, real quick, let's not forget the special teams here.
Special teams, special players, special plays.
What's up, brother? The most special guy here, obviously, Justin Tucker, future Hall of Fame kicker, more than likely. And then you also have, Tuesday. He's special every day. Jordan Stout is the punter and holder. And then they have Dion.
Former Nittany Lion.
Yeah, we don't care now. He's a Raven.
He's got a hell of a leg, though, dude.
Deontay Hardy is the punt and kick returner. And then Nick Moore, the long snapper, because those long snappers matter too.
Ask the Bengals.
Yeah, rough.
I'll never forget
those guys. So that's going to kind of do the rundown of the Baltimore Ravens. If you guys have anything you want to add, we will happily talk about anything that you guys have to add to this team or maybe scared things that you're worried about or things that you want Pittsburgh to take advantage of. Comment on the YouTube video or message us directly on any social media platform. We'll be happily to talk about those things, and we'll happily get back to you in any form of communication you try to reach out. We are excited. Next week is going to be the Bengals, and then followed by the Cleveland Browns. Dang. But with that being said, make sure you guys are liking and following on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe and ring the bell. It's free. We're really trying to grow that YouTube community that we have before the regular season and preseason kickoff. And then again, don't forget those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts for James here. I think there's a chance we might have got one this past week. We'll have to check. We forgot to check before the show, I think. But again, thank you guys so much. And this is James and Cody signing off.
Peace.